Oh, that was one of the coolest experiences. Just
You
that
broke
the
your
year.
back and still raced the car?
I did.
Oh,
I did.
man, dude.
So
Seriously?
at that point, I was 30
we got to
seconds.
get rid of the soon-to-be
Crazy.
part of this legend. So holy
Legendary.
crap.
Man.
Hey, MC Clark here. Byron Stankus is the host.
Host of what?
The host of Soon to Be Legends.
Yes, thank you very
The host
much.
of Soon to Be Legends, and it is May in Indy, so it's
It is
exciting
May in
time.
Lindy. You're not listening to this in May because it'll be June or after, or maybe it's May 2023. We don't know.
Yes, it could
Yeah,
be.
because we're not live, so that's good for everybody.
The magic.
It's magic. We are here with Sebastian Saavedra. Hello, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, we are here at the wonderful LDR Studios. We are powered by LDR Studios. LDR Studios is the mastermind and brainchild of Clark Crosser, old MC there. I can't cut to you because you were drinking. Okay, now we'll cut to MC Clark. There he is. Yay, MC
All
Clark.
right, I'm not drinking. On camera.
I'm your host, Byron Stankus, and we'll get this thing rolling.
You caught me off guard there.
That's half my game, isn't it? So kind of catch people off guard. So Sebastian, thanks for coming in. Sebastian, you are a race car driver. You were working with the Indy 500 teams. You do some engineering. You do some counseling. You do some coaching. You do all kinds of stuff. So we're going to get into it. And welcome.
Thank you. I'm stoked to be here. I heard of this magical spot for so long now, and we're doing it. I mean,
Great.
it's actually physical.
I
happening.
know.
Yeah,
Clark's
that's
been
cool.
talking about this for a while, so we finally got this thing off the
Yeah.
ground, right? And so I just want to let everybody know that from your accent, right? You've got a little bit of an accent. You're from
Slight.
New Jersey,
Yeah, it's southern from there.
that's a little further south of New Jersey.
Slightly.
All right, so you were obviously well, that's not obvious. You have an accent. People can have accents, but you are from somewhere else originally. Where are you from?
I am from Bogota, Colombia, South
Okay.
America. Yeah,
So-
not the Canadian Colombia.
Not Canadian Colombia. That's a
the
British
wrong one.
Columbia.
Yeah, that's the wannabe real Colombia. No, it's like
Oh.
Colombia with an O. in a way, because
Colombia.
A lot of people actually have a U, which is very offensive. No, it's not offensive.
Is it
They,
not?
they do it like, nah. Like, people think that it's offensive
It's just
to
bad
us.
spelling.
It's just like bad spelling, man, which is
Okay.
understandable.
Bogota, Colombia. So how long did you live there?
Not for long, to be honest. Born, raised.
Not for long, but you were born and raised there.
Born, raised.
Well, that's the whole born,
raised.
and raised. You're raised now. So-
Raised, yeah,
But to how old?
define race, you know. because I
Okay,
got-
fair
yeah.
enough. Fair enough. How? So
I left when I was about 13 years old.
okay, so you
so-
were mostly raised.
Mostly, you know,
you were just a bad adult at that point. You weren't
really,
quite a-
really, really,
Yeah, I
really
gotcha.
bad one.
That's cool.
Yeah, built on my own country for racing.
For racing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So-
right on. Were you doing all right there in Bogota, or you had an opportunity to do a race and you were able to get go international?
Basically, yeah.
That's
I
it?
was.
Okay.
I started go-karts. As,
Go-karts. Now this is different, than people build go-karts in their garage. This is like high-end racing stuff, right?
high-end racing go-karts. Correct.
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
that's where it all started. It started like a small kind
What's
of
the
like
top
concept.
speed on those things?
So, baby ones where I started, which is like a 60cc kind of little engine. It goes like, I don't know, like 30 mile an hour, but
But you're
once
sitting like an inch off the
inch
ground.
off, yeah. But then you get into the shifters, you're going over 130 mile an hour.
You're going 180 miles an hour in a go-kart?
130.
130?
Like, easy, yeah. Those
Easy?
things, easy.
That's
Those-
not easy.
Those things are like.
I would pee myself
beast.
a little.
It's amazing. It's
That's
amazing.
pretty cool. And how old were you when you started? Did you start this in Colombia?
I started in Colombia when I was 7 years old.
7.
So I was still
Nice.
like, just enjoying a little bit of different sports. Love
Okay.
tennis,
Okay.
inline hockey, and of course soccer, which is our national, sport and
Football,
The
right?
football, the real football.
Right.
And
Not this one where we crash
yeah,
into each other full
which
speed.
there's
It's
only
a
one
silly game. It's a silly game.
only
It's a-
one
it's
dude
a great
using
game.
the foot, and
Yeah.
they call it football.
Yeah,
I'm
I
still
never
trying to
understood
do-
that. I
Yeah,
understood it. It should be just called crash or something.
yeah,
Yeah, like
or
crash
American
ball or
rugby.
something. American rugby. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll get into. Now we've just offended a whole bunch of people.
I know we
That's
did.
so great. I
I'm pretty
can't
good
wait.
at that. I
You're
am
good at that.
Take a
incredibly
joke.
offending people.
Take a
Me
joke.
too. Me too. I'm good at that too. So that's going to be great. So 7 years old, you start racing these cars while doing all other sports. Did you get into like a team or something like that, or was it just like your parents threw some wheels on a cart and you went out, or how'd that go?
It all started with I was pushing my parents to actually buy me a go-kart or get me into go-karts, and they
Okay.
were super not into that. Very busy
Okay.
parents, and like it was actually an uncle. An uncle gave me my first used go-kart, which was pink, by the way. My first
Nice.
ever go-kart
Yeah.
was a pink one.
That's cool.
And I absolutely loved it. I jumped in and it just felt like I was meant to be inside this cart. And yeah, just starting in local
Right.
schools and local kind of licensing go-karting events.
And
grew
you
up.
obviously did well.
It went very well.
Went very well.
It went very well. I managed to get a talent seeker
Really?
from Italy to actually like see one of the championships I was doing. And this was already when I was 11, so it was
Okay.
like a few years of just like playing
Yeah,
around.
you got
just
to figure it out.
Yeah,
I mean,
figure it out.
I was learning my ABCs still, man. You're driving a
Yeah.
car at like 130 miles an hour.
And
Kart.
so at this point, it was still like the junior series. You start
Right.
somewhere, and at that point, everything was done in Colombia.
Like you've reached the
I
max
reached
level.
the max
Okay.
level, and I was invited to go to Brazil.
Brazil.
So I moved to Brazil.
Did you make a Brazilian dollars? I'm just kidding. That's a dumb joke.
That was horrible.
$7.
so you go to Brazil to race karts.
I did, and I
We're gonna
lived there
have
for a
to
couple of
rate-
years.
We're gonna have to start rating your bad jokes.
Oh no, there's
There should be like a segment.
It's a negative scale, Clark. That's no good. You
I
can't
know.
do that.
Well, I'm gonna bring it out later. This was the official worst joke you tried.
That was the worst one.
Yes,
All
So
right.
far,
All right. So
All
far.
we got to keep that note
Okay.
and stuff.
Trust me. There's more depth to plumb there.
All right.
So all right. So Brazil.
Yeah, I went to Brazil to race go-karts, which is kind of like it was life-changing. As I'm 13 years old, and
And do
just
they
kinda
have like a circuit there or like a league or something?
Many.
Many. Oh, really?
Colombia is a very small country. I mean,
Right.
if you really take into perspective, is the size of maybe smaller than Texas,
Smaller than Texas.
and that's a whole country. And we only have
Texas used to be its own country too.
I mean,
I don't know.
but right now, like
history.
it's only like 3-4 different like racetracks in Colombia. In Brazil, they have 3-4 racetracks in the same state. So
That's cool.
they're
Yeah.
so that was like my first introduction to international
Okay.
motorsports, and that's when I realized, hey, like I still have a long way to go. Like I won everything in Colombia, and then I get my ass whooped by Brazilians.
Okay.
I'm like, I'm nowhere, dude. I'm like, what's going on? I thought I had this figured out.
Right.
Clearly, I didn't. And it was a good kind of like a wake up call.
Nice.
Like, and that's when kind of like the real racing bug hit, when I saw this huge challenge of I want to be the best.
That's awesome, right? I think that's one of those cool things where some people run into that, like you had a natural ability for this, right? Obviously to a degree, and you did, this was really fun. But then you go up a level and then you hit a challenge. And then for you, instead of saying, ugh, it got hard, you went, no, that's what really did it for me.
Hey, wait.
That's awesome, right?
Is that where I said that's what she said?
No, we stop with the bad jokes, man. That's my job, Clark. Come on. No, but I mean,
Yeah.
you hit that level, and you like, no, that's what got me excited was the competition and the challenge, and I think that's awesome.
That was the activation. That was like, like I know the feeling of winning. I know
Right.
the feeling of being at the top. And now I'm completely far away from what I
Right.
want to be,
Right.
and I know like what it feels to be here. So how do I get myself to be back there?
Right? You come on this show because you'll soon to be a legend.
To be a legend,
That's
exactly.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
it's
Promo
a catapult.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's exactly how it went. It just it was like 6 months of like a lot of work with very cool coaches and very
Coaches.
cool,
So, is there a lot of coaching in racing?
huge.
Really?
It's a lot.
Because
Who was
so-
your favorite coach?
I only worked with 2 coaches throughout
Clark
my
wants,
career.
Clark wants to hashtag them on the episode. No, I'm
That's
just kidding.
right.
Go ahead.
So
Very
I'm
true.
So JJ, is still like the best coach.
Who's
like,
JJ?
Brazilian, actually.
Okay.
Brazilian, which actually right now works with a lot of IndyCar drivers and a lot of up and coming big names.
But for a lot of people where you have people, I'm sure listening to this have nothing to do with racing or watching this, right? So there's like real things that you can learn about racing. You just don't mash the pedal and just drive it into the corner and hope it sticks, right?
It's got to be natural. No,
Yeah,
it's,
there's a finesse to it. There's angles. There's feathering the motor. There's all kinds of
theory.
stuff, right?
There's a lot of theory
Okay.
like, that to back up like what's it's a very precise sport,
Right.
but it's not a black and white sport. It's like there's
Okay.
a lot of gray areas that you can jump into to improve yourself. So there's very different styles of driving.
Okay.
There's not just one way makes it work. Now there's like many different strategies, many different ways of driving, many different types of cars to suit your style.
And have you toyed with different styles,
Everything.
or is it one of those situations where you learn a lot of things and then when you're in a race something's not working and you switch styles? Does that happen, or does it have a function of the type of car or the type of race says this is the style of racing you, or technique you want to use?
I think it's crucial to any racer to adapt to any type of car. Like, I mean, once you start getting into this huge funnel, which is open wheel racing, like the junior series, you can no longer just like think that they're going to build a car around you. I mean, you got to sometimes there's theories on every team on how to make a car work. And it doesn't mean that every single team has the same theory. Every single engineer has their way of thinking and how to make a car work.
And we're talking about, I mean, you were talking about precision here, right? And we're talking about a sport where you're going hundreds of miles an hour in some cases, right? Whether it's the go-karts, right, going 130 miles an hour all the way up to Indy cars going, you've been over 200 miles an hour in this thing, right?
240 right now.
What's your
40, right?
It's crazy.
What's your fastest speed?
Mine was 200 and I think it was 232.
232?
232.
Nice.
Like,
Nice.
so
Smoking.
That's
it's,
cool.
It's a big speed.
That was in an Escort, Ford Escort? No?
Yeah, well, it's
Fusion?
actually...
No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
It's a Miata.
Yeah.
Like
Okay. With the top down, your hair.
Top down.
Okay. No, but what I was trying to get back to was we're talking about hundreds and tenths and hundredths of a second difference from one whole lap, and that's how precise it is. So all of these little techniques and these little maneuvers and all of these little changes that people make to cars make everything, right? And that if you can if you take 100th of a second off by clipping the corner a different way, or rolling in late, or changing your pitch on your wing or something like that, and you get 3 or 4 of those and they start to add up, and then a tenth of a second gets to that's a lot of stuff, right?
Well, if you look, I mean, we're looking at thousands of a second, no longer hundreds
seriously,
of a second. So we're looking at the thousands marker, so it's already 3.
And when we're talking thousands, we're talking about like IndyCar open wheel racing here, right?
Everywhere.
And F1,
everywhere.
Really?
I mean, that's
crazy.
how precise and that's how tight. Because if you look at an IndyCar race, I mean, if you look the last race that they had at Barber, within 1 second, which is just like a quick second, you had 22 cars qualified.
That's crazy.
So the difference between...
That's how close that is,
That's
right?
how close it is.
What
Like
is
1 second.
What is trap speed? Because didn't Connor break some record?
Trap speed?
Trap speed, so the average is the speed in which you can maintain throughout the whole 2.5 mile.
Okay.
But then the trap speed is like the highest level of that
during that run. Okay, so that's the short segment. So it would be like the fastest 40 yards when you're running 100.
Like the top of the top, which is usually depends on the wind direction. But in that case, was going down into turn 3, and I believe he hit something like 240 something, like
243.
243,
So
which that's a big number.
That's the fastest ever.
We're talking about the time trials and the practice rounds for the Indy 500.
Correct.
Which for us hasn't happened yet. For those listening, hey, it was a great show.
And Carpenter's going to win, by the way.
And you're okay. Oh, that's fine. I got Daly. That's fine. And you're involved in that to some degree. So we're kind of jumping around a little bit because we're talking about all of this stuff. But you started to learn that in Brazil.
I did. So once the cool thing about go-karts is that it gives you the basics,
right?
And it gives you the raw aspect of motorsport.
Right.
It's just a chassis with some tiny wheels and a powerful engine.
Right.
And so a lot of things are happening, and you are just kind of learning every single lap.
They get you steering wheel too.
Every now and then,
Okay,
depending on the.
You just bend it with your mind or nothing. No.
But so you start learning a lot of different concepts, and of course there's then rain involved, and then it's a completely different way of racing. Rain. It's just for me one of the most fun styles of racing.
Really, racing in the rain's fun for you?
Is super fun.
I'm terrified on wet roads.
I absolutely love them.
Do you really?
I absolutely love them. So even like for example, rally, which is probably one of my biggest passions.
Rally cars.
I think that's
so what's the difference
coolest.
now? We were talking about open wheels and go-karts. Now what's rally cars?
Rally, it's off-road racing.
Off-road racing in like a modified stock, like regular car, right?
Well, they have like hundreds of different like a series of rally. They have like the stock ones. They have like a super modified.
So rally cars.
And rally cars, I just absolutely love them. I have
And they
another
race
level of
these things
respect.
off road. They race them through countrysides on little tiny roads, all kinds of stuff, right?
Exactly.
That's like
You
that's
know, they're
great. So
going
you've done all of this,
all of it,
and
all of it.
you've done 24-hour races and stuff too.
I've done sports cars racing, which
Sports
is
cars.
like prototypes. Which we do the 24 hours of Daytona.
Right.
So yeah,
Did you do well at that?
Semi well. Yeah, we won in 2019.
Yeah, you won. Yeah, okay. I was trying to get you there, trying to throw you a bone there.
Thank you,
That's
thank
cool.
you. No, it was good.
Where's that watch at?
What's that?
Where's that watch at?
I should have brought it. Yeah,
You should have brought the
I should have
Rolex
brought
in.
the Rolex in,
Oh,
man.
geez.
Didn't think about it.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I'm
don't know,
representing the 500.
They didn't rep that brand
it's-
yet,
It's
so.
an important month.
So you were still at go-karts in Brazil,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when did you move out to do some of the rally cars, or the sports cars, or
So
BMW? I think you raced as well. And
so after Brazil, like after finally I kind of like matched the level in Brazil.
oh, did
finally
you
started-
get up?
yeah,
To, so you
yeah.
so that's cool. So you get to the top of Colombia, you go to Brazil. It's like way over your head.
my God,
you
yeah.
really dig in. You say you're going to do this, and you get to the top of the Brazilian race circuit for
Then you
these.
continue that evolution, and then
Right.
for me that was the World Championship, which is in Europe. So now
Nice.
like you go straight to Europe, and back again. Like you are combined with what you know from Colombia, with what you actually experience in Brazil, and then throw 100 other countries into it, which is the coolest thing ever.
That's
Because
cool.
now you see all these nationalities and all these drivers with different kind of like concepts of how to drive.
Right.
And it was amazing, and I became world champion.
Is that still go-karting?
They still go karting,
Wow.
which
So you're a world champion go-karter.
and that's what just completely opened the doors of open wheel racing. So like
Okay.
that's when I signed a 2-year contract with BMW,
Right.
and that allowed me to start my process of open wheel racing.
Okay.
And once you jump into like a bigger car,
Right.
as much as the speed goes higher, everything kind of slows down. Because in a go kart, I mean, there's nothing. It's just like a piece of like
Yeah, it's just like a couple of
chassis.
aluminum. Yeah, it's aluminum.
And you like here you have a big thing surrounding you. The tracks are much bigger.
Okay.
And that was
And even though the
was the first
speeds
thing.
are going faster, because you're in a bigger car, you feel like everything is slowing down.
Yeah.
You're now not 1 inch off the road. You're
I mean,
one
you're
and
still
a half inches.
You're still like exactly. You're still like
I mean,
not
like-
that much taller, but everything just the racetracks are longer. The straightaways are wider.
Okay.
The corners are longer. So everything just kind of like slows down, and now you need to kind of like slow your brain down.
Is
as
that
well.
so? Do you think? Yeah. So that's experience that's slowing this down for you, or it's literally just physically everything's that much bigger. It takes more time to get through a circuit.
Everything, just all. It's a combination of things, and that was the coolest aspect of
Jumping
now.
into the
Because now it's like now you're into it. I mean,
Right.
once you jump into this level, which is where basically I realized, you know what, I think this is my life.
Nice.
You know, before like I was doing it for fun. I loved racing. I loved everything about it, but it was not something that still clicked that I wanted to do this for the rest of my life.
Right, okay.
You know, for me it was just I get the opportunity. Like
How old are you at this point?
so at this point I am 16.
Wow,
So
really?
like so this it was a very quick evolution
Okay.
from just a hobby to this is my life, right?
Nice.
So and that was a cool aspect of just waking up one day. I'm like, man, this is what I want to do.
People are paying me to
Yeah.
do this. I have fun, and people
I have
pay.
fun.
Eventually, I'll get paid to do this. Maybe.
you know, like
You think? I don't
it would
think
be
so.
good.
That's fine.
It'll be a good buy. Well, we better get us there.
Insert sponsorship here.
Yeah.
Insert. Yeah, whoop. So no. So now you're 16 years old. You're racing open wheel. You signed 2
Yeah.
years for BMW. How'd that go?
Amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah, we won the rookie championship, and that again just kept us putting.
And in what like level race is like?
So
That's
race
not-
worldwide. I was in
Yeah, but I mean, is
Asia.
that like F4, F3? Is it F1? Is it IndyCar?
So-
I don't know. These are numbers I'm throwing out and I'm making things up.
So that would be nowadays what Formula 4
Okay, Formula
is.
4.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Formula 4, which back in the day didn't exist. All these
Okay.
concepts didn't
Right.
exist.
That's why I asked, because it's an evolving situation. Yeah.
So it's basically a development series ladder.
Nice,
So
okay.
this is where, as a young athlete, you jump from go-karts to the first introduction to
Right.
a, aerodynamic car, basically.
Okay.
And and yeah, like that first year was amazing. The second year was even better, and you just keep that evolution.
Excellent.
Then I raced Formula 3
Okay.
with a Mercedes, and I'm still in Europe. You know, I'm living in Europe for a long time, and I'm following Formula 1. That's my dream. That's everything I wanted to do. And after we won the rookie championship and we're second on the season Formula 3, there's a huge, okay, well, now what?
Right.
It's or you jump into GP2, which is Formula 2 right now,
Okay.
or you come back to the States and actually pursue the IndyCar route.
Okay.
But at that point, like I remember, like I thought like ovals were crazy. You know, I'm like, these people are,
Because you were
are
racing.
nuts.
You were racing on
Only road courses.
road courses. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, only road courses, and the European mentality looks at the ovals like, no, these people are crazy.
Yeah.
So I grew with that, and I'm like, you know what, that's not my option. You know, I'm going to continue pursuing this. And I remember like that summer, I was called by Sam Schmidt to do a test here in the US. And when the season was over, I'm like, well, I'll give it a try.
Sure.
So I came to Chile, Kansas Speedway, of anywhere else.
Where the hell is that?
In the middle of nowhere.
Middle of the country.
Middle of nowhere. And had a test on the oval on an Indy Lights. And it was nerve-wracking.
Was it?
It was completely...
Was it okay? Is it different? Was it easier? I mean, because obviously, when you're driving a road course, you're going through a lot of turns, and they're different shaped turns, right? And you have different lengths of straightaways and that sort of stuff. So you're constantly, your mind's got to constantly figure, and then you got to kind of get into a rhythm. But when you go to an oval, I imagine that to some degree it's simplified because you're only talking about 4 turns, right?
Right.
And the foot's on the gas the
And the
whole
foot's
time.
on it. Well, it should be at least, right? But it also is different because now you've got the momentum matters more, and the angle that you take attacking the corner matters.
There's a lot more strategy involved, I would say. Because there's fewer, you know, parts of the equation, as you said, and there's not breaking points. There's not different, you know, curves and all these things. There's just like, but then there's like multiple lines per corner.
Okay.
You know, you have at least 4 different lines of entry, 4 different mid-corner lines, and then you start combining all these along, and there's a lot of equation still on the oval.
And that's where this learning the different techniques comes into play, where you can kind of draw. That's cool. That's awesome.
So, and that's a cool thing. They just like threw us out there. It was like 7 different drivers that we were being kind of like tested to see if we made it, and they threw us like, not knowing nothing.
Right.
Like we made questions they're not allowed to answer. And we're like, okay, so you got to just like figure by yourself.
They literally just like, hey, how does this work? Like, just get in the car and drive,
Jump
bro.
in the car. I mean, that's all you got to do. And I'm like, this is cool.
They put the pedals on the correct side and everything?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're good there.
They were very different because, you know, the European cars, you have the pedals like up top, like American is like a down low. It's very different kind of like setup scenario.
Really? So I was joking about that.
No,
but
like
literally, the car is that much different that the
very
pedals are different.
The pedals are different. the way you sit is different.
That's great. My naivete turns into real. All right.
Yeah, you did some research.
There, man.
Yeah,
good job.
I didn't do research. I backed into that, man. I have no idea.
No, it's very different. So, like mentally, so physically, it's already feeling different.
Right.
Then you're jumping into an oval.
Right.
A very cold oval because it was freezing, and just figure it out. And you know, the only thing I knew was like NASCAR. You know, at that point.
Right.
You know, like I know of IndyCar and stuff, but you know, I just like, you know, keep the same lines. You know, very wide, and you go in. I do. You know, like it was 1 hour test.
Okay.
I stop. You know, okay, thank you. We'll call you. I'm like, wow, that was an interview, I guess. I mean, that's cool. I'm like in the middle of Kansas. So I ended up just going back to Austria. I was living in Austria.
You were living in Austria. They flew you to Kansas on a freezing cold day and said, hey, get in this car and drive around. We're not going to tell you anything else for 1 hour and say, don't call us, we'll call you.
Exactly.
Yeah, great.
So they called back, and I ended up going back to Indiana.
Okay.
So I came here to Indianapolis in October of 2008. And we did a test at Putnam Park, which is a small racetrack here.
Yeah. I've been there,
and it's a beautiful place. A little tiny, like
yeah.
I didn't even know what is Putnamville.
No, Putnam Park is the track.
Yeah,
Putnamville's the town.
Is a town?
Yeah.
Never thought about it. Never went back.
They also have a dirt track there called Lincoln Park Speedway, but that's fine.
that's kind of like more of a
Look
midget
at
racing.
you doing
Yeah.
all your
You see
research,
that?
man.
I didn't know that thing.
Hey, I know some racing. I know some racing people.
Damn,
Got
dude.
some stuff.
So
Yeah,
dedicated
anyway,
to this job.
that's cool.
So, and I did my second test, which was more of a road course thing, and there was a bunch of different teams. You know,
Right.
there was Andretti Green Racing back then,
Trade agree. Okay.
and a bunch of others. And after that test, Andretti approached me and they were like, you know what, we're interested in
So were you
signing
testing for another team, or were you just testing and all these teams were just kind of scouting? So is it like an open audition and all these teams are looking at you? Or were you brought in by a specific team?
I was brought by Schmidt.
You were brought by Schmidt?
So I was
but
brought by Schmidt.
Andretti said, we'll take you?
Yeah, so it was
Really?
pretty cool, like how like everybody was testing a bunch of different drivers for
Right,
the
sure.
2009 season,
Okay.
and a bunch of testers were there. You know, James Hinchcliffe involved. He was there. That we became really close because we came up through the ranks.
Right,
you
through
know,
the same time, yeah.
we raced in
Okay.
the former BMW together and such. So then I get the opportunity from Andretti to jump into their car, not only as an Indy Lights driver for this
Okay.
season, but I'm already testing the Indy car, which was something that Europe couldn't give me. Like I was gonna be racing in GP2,
Right.
and that's it. I mean, we're
that's it.
hoping.
So what you're so I think I'm going to try to make this analogy and see if this works, right? So what you were saying is you had an opportunity to run GP2, which is like the right under F1, right? But they weren't going to give you any opportunities at the F1 level. But you came here and you got a job to ride Indy Lights, which is the second tier thing for the IRL. But they were giving you opportunities to test the Indy cars and be part of the team more than that. So you had an opportunity to go immediately.
Immediately.
So yeah, that seems like a good idea.
It was just one of those options. Like, should I just try the GP2 and see if, like, we do good, and as soon as we do good, potentially,
Right.
like, start like testing Formula One, or here I already had all the openings to continue this American like path.
Right.
And it was an easy chance. I'm coming to America.
Yeah. This is the land of opportunity.
This is it.
I know.
So
Yeah, that's what we
came
tell
over,
ourselves. Yeah.
Came over, and it was
Nice.
it was the best decision ever. You know, like
Cool.
I was the Danica Patrick and Hideki Muto test driver, which was
Okay.
hilarious. I was the only one that could fit
In Danica's car?
In Danica's car. So I think that was like the biggest opportunity.
The biggest opportunity because I'm a little guy.
Because
I
I'm a
got
little
you.
guy,
Okay.
small hips, so right into her seat, and that again, just like the rest is history. You know, after 7 full seasons and 7 Indy 500s, I mean, it was just the best experience ever.
That's awesome.
And then
so you raced in 7 Indy
7
500s?
events, yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Good for you. How'd you do?
It was up and downs. I
Up and
think
downs,
I had 2 15s,
Okay.
which are
Nice.
my best finishes. A few big crashes.
Really?
Big deathly
That's,
crashes.
I mean, that's deathly
Well, almost.
Oh, yeah.
Like I
Scary.
like died. Scary, yeah.
You died a little inside.
I definitely did.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
still like
So-
a little bit of piece of me still in the track.
So that's an interesting point. At what point did you have a big crash? And is there any point at which you were like, yeah, I can't, like that's too scary, or are you like, I'm okay. Let's keep going. I don't know how. Did you have a big one early on, or did you wait till you got to these huge cars
I
before
think
something happened?
crashes are just part of the job, right?
Okay.
From go-karts, I mean, you had a few here and there. Nothing that ever scared me. I mean, I tapped the wall here and there. But the biggest crash, it was my first year at the 500, actually, 2010. My
Okay.
first ever big crash.
Big crash.
Like, oh my God, dude. Like,
On fire and everything.
Yeah, it was an explosion, and it was very big.
Wow.
Turn 1, qualifying attempt.
Did you get hurt?
I very bigly, like
Yeah.
I broke my back, tore some ligaments in my neck.
Oh, shit.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
And you were like, that was your, and you're like, I'll keep doing this. This is great.
What happened?
awesome.
Like, I qualified.
It looks
in
like
the
a
middle of
really fun job, man.
It was crazy. Actually, the cool story about that first attempt, which was actually with Brian Hurt Autosport. That was their first year doing the Indy 500.
Brian Herta, yeah.
Brian Hurt.
Okay.
And we had a super cool sponsor, William Rast, with a whole gang of, Justin Timberlake was our sponsor. And it was just like a dream for me, And
Yeah.
I'm young,
So you got to meet Justin Timberlake.
I got to meet him. We signed our contract in New York in the Fashion Week with Justin Timberlake with us. And that was
Nice.
like the coolest experience
That's
ever.
cool, man.
Because,
Right on.
I was 18
Let's give
years
him a
old.
call. Let's see if he remembers it.
And Oh, that was one of the cool experiences. Just having
That's
the
a
opportunity.
great experience, and then you
Then I
wreck the car.
destroyed.
And
the
you
car,
wrecked, did you
destroyed
say, in
myself.
qualifying?
Yes. So
Oof,
this is
so you didn't
qualifying
get to race?
try. No, that's a cool thing that I was. So we were 36.
That's a cool thing?
That was a cool thing. There was 36 cars. At that.
You broke
the
your
year.
back and still raced the car?
I did.
Oh,
I did.
man, dude.
So
Seriously?
at that point, I was 30
we got to
seconds.
get rid of the soon-to-be part of this legend. So holy crap!
Man, it was 30 seconds.
That's fucking
then
crazy.
I crashed it. Then I'm out. I'm 34th at this point, and only 33 qualified to the 500. And I'm in the middle of an MRI machine. I'm getting an MRI, because
Right.
I'm really really hurt. And as I'm in the MRI machine, something very uniquely, and this hasn't happened ever again.
Okay.
Paul Tracy tries to improve his time, and he didn't improve his time, so he disqualified himself.
Oh, geez.
Oh, so
So-
you're
So they
in.
opened us. So you
So
were
I
in
went from 34th to 33rd
Nice.
while
and-
sitting in an MRI.
while
machine.
sitting in an MRI machine. So I qualified to the Indy 500 while getting an MRI, and it was just like okay, now are we racing? I mean, like
So-
absolutely.
So just to let
So
everybody
you
know,
put like a
how
brace
long,
on
how,
or-
how long is that gap between qualifying and the race?
It's a week.
So you wrecked. Now, how obviously you didn't break your back that you're like a paraplegic or anything.
No,
you
I
obviously
mean,
just fractured
It was
some
a
bones in your-
fissure, but it was a fissure that required for me to have a lot of physical therapy and kind of like.
But
Which
you
again,
were-
Drew Hoffman, if you're watching, dude, you saved my
Hoffman.
life. Drew
Nice
Hoffman, the
doctor?
best chiropractor
Nice
ever. That
chiropractor,
he
nice.
got me back. He's got me back 13 times.
He's
Even
got
yesterday.
you back, and he's got your back.
Yes.
Do you see that?
Yeah,
you see
see?
that? I like that.
Yeah,
Oh,
look
first
at
good
that.
joke. Love it.
There you go.
On a good joke chart.
winner.
It's a winner. Okay, we're on
It's
it.
a winner.
We're gonna put a little tally sheet. Ding.
yeah.
No,
Yes, it's 1-1 right now.
that's good.
No, these guys
And
put me together many
put
times.
you together, and you went out and
Yeah.
raced after, with a
So,
broken back.
I
And
couldn't, so I had torn ligaments, so I couldn't even hold my head. So we had to
So you
put
had to
a
put a
huge,
neck brace on?
different neck braces and stuff, and jump in the car, which was not very safe now that I think about it, because I couldn't even look my mirrors. I couldn't even move my neck. So I was here kind of trying to look into my mirrors, and I couldn't move my head around. But yeah, that was my first Indy 500 experience.
Just put your right turn blinker on and just go.
Just
and
go,
then
man.
everyone
Yeah.
knows, oh, that's the old guy. Get out of the
Yeah.
way. No, I just... So literally,
But
you raced that race. How'd that go?
we
Did you finish?
I crashed again.
You crashed. You
But it was a soft crash.
Soft crash. You're
was a
doing.
soft crash.
I love it when
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I touched the wall. You're doing 200 miles an hour and you
Yeah,
touch the
I
wall. Like
touched the
that's a
wall.
no big deal. No, but in this crash, you crashed again. It wasn't too
I
bad.
crashed again. At the end of the race, we were doing great. I mean, we didn't have the speed. We didn't have the best car. We knew we were going to struggle as a small team,
Right,
And
but
we just want to be part of this of the show.
At the show, but even more than that, you were talking about before, like ovals. Then this is basically an oval race, right? A lot of strategy can play into this. You
It's
can
everything.
use so you guys can also
Yeah.
not have the fastest car and have a good strategy and still be competitive, and that's kind of what you guys were going for, right?
You're gonna have a fast car.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
if you can have a lot of strategy, but if you don't have a top 12 car
Yeah.
speed wise, I mean, there's
Yeah.
no chance.
But you're still in the Indy 500.
yeah, no, for me it's huge.
I think you'll do a lot better if you don't crash.
I have heard that. I've heard
that's,
that a few times.
It's the first
you know.
step to winning. The
But you
race.
have
Yeah.
but you have finished this race a couple times, yes.
Many times, yeah.
that's cool.
Those being crashed twice and
Oh, you
those
only
two, yeah.
crashed twice? And that's just at the Indy 500.
On the 500. Oh,
You-
yeah, I've crashed,
you've crashed
many times, yeah.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Yeah, this is part of the beauty of
it's
this part, yeah.
And what's amazing
They
is
there's a saying that says, well, there's actually Mario Andretti made it kind of very, very cool. It's like, you know what, there's the two styles of drivers.
right.
Those that haven't crashed and those that will crash. I mean,
Right,
eventually,
yeah. Right.
you will crash.
Yeah.
There's no other option. I mean, you just gotta hope
Man,
that
that's
it's gonna be a
But I mean,
Stay on this side of the line.
yeah.
Yeah.
Does that ever give you pause to get back into a car?
never.
Really, it never has. Like the accident's
No.
never been so bad. I mean, I have a friend of mine who rents sprint cars, and he broke his neck,
Mm.
and he got back in the car, and it's just, to me, it's one of those things. Like it took him a
in
couple
your
of
blood,
years,
man.
Yeah, it took him a couple of years to kind of go after it again. Did you ever have that pause?
Never. No, I've been lucky. I think the worst crash was probably 2015, also the 500, like 9 laps to go. I got clipped in the back, and this guy T-boned me. and my legs went backwards. So that was disgusting. Then they had to pull morphine through my nose to get me out of the car. That was a nasty one.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You never told me this.
This is awful.
But again, Drew Huffman, dude, you got
shit.
me back again. So, little Drewski.
Oh
No,
my
that
God.
was
So he
nasty.
took care of not just your back, but your legs. You broke your
Everything,
legs,
man.
and they were backwards.
So they went behind the pedal
shit.
box, and as soon as the guy hit me, so they basically just like both just like went backwards. And
At what? Like the knee, the shin?
no, so the
ankle?
ankle at the
Okay, just
ankle,
above the
they just like
ankle?
dislocated completely.
Oh man, my
So
wife
it's-
had that accident. Had that where she dislocated her ankle, almost
That
lost the
was
foot. Yeah.
that was bad.
And she was
that's
not
nasty.
racing at the Indy 500. She was just
Yeah.
driving down the road and
Just
tried
like-
to miss a guy. Who was,
Shit.
yeah. I don't know,
It's
a
not
bad-
fun. It's not fun. So
That's
Yeah.
and you walked in here like totally fine. I would
I know.
never have guessed that both your feet were backwards at one
I
point.
I cannot
That visual's
race.
got me disturbed.
I know they got
It's
the
so
morphine
bad,
up the
dude.
nose.
So that's the thing, because they couldn't get it. They
A bunch
get
of
me
junkies
out.
like, oh, I can do morphine up the nose. No, I'm just
Actually,
saying.
didn't know. Like, so they pulled in
Hey.
the foot pedal kind of like cover, and the whole Matro team, which is kind of the guys that used to save us back then, they're kind of like, oh my god, he was like very impressed on the legs. I'm like, man, it's bad. So they tried to get me out. I'm screaming at this point, and they knew they were
And
not
do you
gonna
have the
get me
helmet
out.
off, or they can hear you through the helmet?
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah,
helmet
okay, they're
off.
trying to
You know,
get you
there's
out,
this picture of me just like crying, just like screaming of pain.
I don't know
And
what
they
year
had
it
to-
was, but I drew
That's-
you out of the hat one year, and it might have been that year. You
Yeah.
You're talking about betting on the racing. We're talking about this guy wrecking
I
the
know.
wall. Come on,
I'm
Clark.
trying to line this.
It would have been a
Trying to
good
think
year.
about
We
something
were
else
we
other
were
than the-
seventh.
You were seventh when you wrecked.
Yeah, we were looking good, man. We were
that's
looking
tough.
top fiver. I mean, that year was a solid car for us.
Who was it that clipped you?
So there's two.
Clark will go get him.
Guy Stefano Coletti. Good dude. He's a good dude. I mean, he was just like in the middle of the worst place he could have been. He was a few laps down. I mean, just like it didn't work.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. And again, never went in through my mind that I didn't want to do this.
That's
and,
amazing.
I had a few months of
I don't know.
recovery, and then I finished the final race of the season. So
Yeah, you're wired differently,
Yeah.
man. That's
And
kind of cool. That's
it's-
that's
it's
interesting.
passion. When it comes to
Yeah, it
passion,
is.
it's just like this is something that will never.
That's what we were
Yeah.
talking about. Definitely the passion, right? And this from a very early age. That
It's
kind
an
of brought
activation.
you in.
Yeah,
That's
you just
great. That's
the only
awesome.
thing that it did to me was to want to get back even better. Okay,
Right.
so this happened. I mean, I need to make it work.
So you've got that passion, and
Yeah.
you are now you're not driving in this Indy 500. Is that correct?
I'm not. No,
You're
we
not.
tried. We tried.
Oh, did you
There
really?
Was, yeah. No, there was
you get a ride?
No, like we got very close to a ride last minute because there was only going to be 33 cars.
Right.
And at that point, there were only 32 cars aligned, so we were pushing to be the 33rd
Okay.
car.
And who's we? Do you have a team? Do you have a sponsor?
We were with a team and a sponsor
Okay,
that's
cool.
always been a huge supporter of us. You know,
Cool.
AFS
Okay.
Racing. You know, automatic fire sprinklers, the best sprinklers in the world, by the way. If you guys are constructing, let me know.
All right.
But yeah, we came very close to the point that I think we were celebrating a bit too early, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
In hindsight, I think it was a good thing that we're not.
Yeah,
because
you didn't have the car for it, or
it was too last minute. I
Okay.
mean,
And the speeds are ridiculous.
well, but even more than that, I mean,
it's just personnel. I mean, we didn't have the personnel.
If you
to
don't
do
have
it.
the personnel, you don't have the
Yeah.
car. We've already just talked about that. This is dangerous. You're
Yeah.
doing 200
Yeah.
plus miles an hour,
You-
and if
you're
you're the
trusting your
slow
life.
guy,
Yeah.
right, you're the one that's getting in the way. They're the one hitting you, right?
Yeah, if you want to, I mean, I'm thankful to that at this stage. I just don't want to be just another participant. I don't want to just
Yeah.
participate. You know, I don't
Right.
want to be just like adding numbers. No, we want to be competitive, and you actually want to win this race.
Right,
I mean,
right.
if you're doing this, it's because you want to win the Indy 500.
But you're doing other things.
Everything.
So
Yeah,
what
like
else?
active
What
rally.
else are you doing with regards to racing around here?
So as of right now, I venture a lot into the management and coaching. You know,
Coaching.
something that I just never.
Giving back.
Yeah, and it feels amazing. It feels when one of the clients gets in the podium, and you're like, man, like I like it's just like so rewarding.
Yeah,
you know, and,
that's cool.
something I didn't know I had
I do
in
some
me.
coaching, so not race cars, but I do some coaching, so I know exactly what you mean.
It's super nice
Yeah,
how
it's
it
cool.
feels like when
Yeah.
you see like somebody excelling, and you're like, oh, he's trying what I
Yeah.
told him to do, and he's doing this the way I would have done it, and
Right.
it just feels so nice.
That's cool.
And that's what we've been doing.
And you were supposed to come in a couple weeks ago, but you had an engineering gig. What does that?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So right now I'm working with a cool Ferrari team in
Okay.
the Ferrari championship here in the U.S. And we're all over the place with them. And you know, like I'm doing a lot of the engineering aspect as well.
Yeah.
I'm
What's
helping
what,
out.
what is involved in engineering apart from I don't know,
Development, just
Development?
making that car quicker. How does
Okay.
it? So the car itself is just my analogy is like it's just a patient that cannot tell you what's hurting.
Okay.
And you as the engineer, you gotta like be the doctor of like, okay, like figure it out
Okay.
on how to make the car like be better. You know, in this case, depending on what is that you're doing to the car
Right.
will react to those changes.
Right.
And depending on how the car is driving, then you just like
Try to figure out whether that was good or bad. Yeah.
So it's
What
it's
you need is a
cool
little
thing.
checkbox whether those jokes were good or bad. That's the
Exactly.
same thing with a car. No,
Yeah,
okay.
same
Yeah,
thing.
same thing.
We're keeping
So-
score,
so you're
man.
doing
By
some
the
ins-
way,
yeah.
we're keeping score over here.
So you're doing engineering for a Ferrari team. You're doing some coaching. What you know, and you're what else are you doing?
We opened during the pandemic in e-commerce.
Oh yeah,
in Colombia.
Yeah. Everyone, yeah,
You have to.
The
I mean, like,
pandemic.
you
yeah.
you have
My
nothing
favorite
to do.
subject.
You're bored. You're there. Okay, like how is it
So
gonna be?
e-commerce down there.
So we have in Colombia an e-commerce, reparo.com. Check it out.
Wait,
well,
we?
it's in Colombia.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a group of 3 friends that we just joined forces into seeing something that was lacking in
Okay.
South America, which is the e-commerce sale of parts. You know, of auto parts.
So it's still with cars. Is this for racing or this just
No,
for like regular
just
cars?
regular cars.
Okay.
You know, regular cars, motorbikes, and heavy trucks.
Okay.
And we saw the need for that industry to just like
Okay.
evolve, because here it's like so easy. You know, you need an oil filter. You just go to Amazon, and the next day you have it.
Yeah, you go to AutoZone, Amazon,
whatever.
Yeah,
Artisan, all this Napa.
O'Reilly.
And we don't have that in Colombia, you know.
Okay.
So you know what, that's something that makes sense, and we just jumped headfirst into the whole
Nice.
development and the whole coding of a functional website, which has been the hardest thing to do.
Are you actually doing that coding?
No, we're subcontracting everything through
Okay.
India, and that has been a pain in the ass, like dealing with subcontractors and stuff.
Yeah, it's
But it's
that's
been
why
cool, man.
just Clark and I do this here.
Yeah, you know,
No,
when
thanks,
you deal
Will.
with different nations. But so I venture more into the entrepreneurial
That's
side
cool.
of
Right on.
myself,
Right on.
which has been kind of exciting.
And you're still in the race car thing, and
still in the race car thing. I'm still
man.
licensed to jump in.
But do you have to get a license to do that?
Absolutely.
I mean, I have a license to drive my car. Is it a different license?
Very different. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. No.
So how do you get? Oh wait, I didn't know this.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
just
a
to
thing.
race like Indy cars,
Yeah,
or like
you gotta be licensed.
you gotta be like so. Do you
Yeah.
take a test or what?
So there's different.
You have to parallel park.
Yeah, to
You gotta
parallel
part.
park.
So
No, seriously, I
if
didn't know that you have to have a license.
If you guys check, there's the rookie orientation, which they send you out there,
Right.
and they make you go for 15 laps at stages. So the first stage is under 210 mile an hour, then the second stage over 210 till 215, then 215 and plus, and then over 220. So there's different stages that you go through, and you got to pass them.
And where are you on? What tracks are you? Are you on a specific track?
So if it's ovals, they did it in Texas
Okay.
for the rookies. I mean, they did it in Texas, and once
And
you
so-
do that, and they did it also here in Indy. So
So for the rookie
they do a lot
orientation?
of refreshers as well.
Okay. So then you have to pass these courses and get a license.
Yeah.
Do they give you a little card with your picture on it?
They do.
Yeah.
They
They
give
give a
you
little hair
everything,
going
yeah.
on there. Yeah,
Because you gotta be federated. So it's the FIA, so the International Federation of Automobile,
okay.
and that's through Colombia. So you get your license through Colombia.
Okay.
Yeah, you are a representative of the motorsport industry of our nation.
Okay.
And then you come here in the States with this license. You're okay. I'm gonna race the IndyCar in the racing league.
Do you have
so
to do that in Europe too?
yeah,
And did you-
worldwide.
And even with the go karts as well.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that
Everybody's
actually
licensed.
feels good.
No, you gotta be licensed, and that's the way
You can't just have a regular person just jump in this thing and go,
and
"Hey,
then-
let's mash the pedal."
And there's the amateurs, and then there's the pro amateurs. There's different
Okay.
levels of licenses. Then
And somebody has to pay for this, so you have to pretty much be signed with the team to some degree for them to pay
yeah,
for
they're
that because
they're
it's
pricey.
expensive. Yeah,
They're
it's
pretty
expensive to
pricey.
go down and race 220 miles an hour on Texas
Yeah.
just for fun.
Exactly. So that, and they won't license anybody. I mean, they need your
Sorry, Clark.
their bio. Yeah, you gotta have like a bio behind
I
you
was
that
looking
backs you
so
up.
forward to breaking my ankles backwards.
Yeah.
You know, like-
Just because of the morphine.
exactly.
Okay, you get one. You get a check mark too. Sorry, that's good. Wow. Okay, so that's licensed. So you're still licensed to drive. Is your long-term goal still to continue driving, or do you like this? Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. I
You
mean,
just-
I'm
you-
30. I mean, I still have like so many.
You're 30?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still
Really?
have so many years ahead of me that.
Okay.
Yeah, I look at my teammates when I was, with Scott Dixon, Tony Kanaan, that, I mean, they're,
Right.
in 40s, high
Right.
40s, something, you know what, they're still killing it out there.
Right, nice.
So it's a cool sport that allows you to go for a long time.
And you've had a lot of opportunities. I mean, you
Yeah.
lived in Austria and
You
Brazil.
got to
and-
train though. I mean, you
You
can't
got
just
to, no, you cannot stay.
So
no,
how
it
do
would,
you train? Because how do you train? Because you don't get to just jump in a car and go 200 miles an hour,
no,
right? I
it's-
mean,
it's
how do you
incredibly
practice
physical.
that?
It's incredibly physical. There is a very specific muscles that do you need to really focus. Your neck is huge.
Right, I'm not
you
talking
know,
about my neck's huge.
Yeah, your neck is huge.
I've been
yeah,
working out.
yeah.
No,
But your
CrossFit.
neck is a
No.
huge muscle that you need to focus on.
Well, I mean, the whiplash and the turns and the
G
G-forces and all
forces,
that.
you know,
Man, that's
but
crazy.
everything else, cardio is it's
What
very
are the
hot.
G forces at Indy? Like in a
or at
turn?
any of these things.
Right now, we're like looking probably about 4.5. Like at those
And that's
speeds, I mean,
laterally, right? That's to the side.
that's a lateral.
That's literally the
lateral and
four-
negative. So because you're actually getting
Pushed
ground
into the
pushed
seat?
into the seat, pushed into the actual ground. Even Texas, which those high bankings, now you're being cramped all the way down.
Right.
Back in the day, like when there were like the 1,000 horsepower engines, people will like pass out from the G forces.
Right.
Like that was like the early 2000 era, like
You
90s,
just like
yeah.
fall asleep in the fourth
Yeah,
turn.
no,
You wake up.
It was like
You wake up doing 230 miles an hour.
I think
Like,
like
whoops.
Paul Tracy, if I'm not mistaken, was like one of the guys like in Vegas or something. It was like huge. No?
He passed out.
A lot of people did. So
You didn't pass out.
never. No,
It's a
never
dry
had-
heat
never
out
had.
there, though, right? The
Yeah, it
Vegas-
is.
Yeah. And now the
No, but-
heat, you add the
So
heat
that's the
training.
workout. So that's
Yeah.
you got to condition your body to
Condition
go through
body,
this.
yeah.
The
Huge,
G forces and that sort of
no,
thing. But how do you practice driving at 200 and some miles an hour?
Just on track. There's of
Just
course-
on track.
Yeah, on track.
So you pretty much
yeah.
have to have somebody have your back in order to keep this going.
Absolutely, it's an expensive sport, and it's without the backers, without sponsors,
Right.
without investors. I mean, there's no way that you can actually do a lap. It's
But
very
are there,
expensive.
Yeah, but are there like do teams then just go out and just test? Is that why that opportunity in Kansas was such a big deal? Because you had an opportunity to go out and just race a car
Yeah.
just to do it. And I mean,
Every-
you still have those opportunities where people
Yeah.
are like, "Hey, just come out and run the car," and
Absolutely.
you may not have been in a car for months or weeks
Oh,
or
absolutely.
years or whatever.
No, like every week I'm in a car.
Are you really?
Yes,
Well, I mean, a real like a race car.
yeah. No, there's always like something that needs development, needs like a different like perspective, and,
Really?
and that's something that
That's cool.
that's part
So
of my
you still
services.
get to do that, yeah.
A lot. No,
So
I'm
part of your
jumping.
service is to drive someone else's car and
is
say,
developing
"Hey."
that car, jumping
Okay.
into that car, telling them what's wrong, what direction to go.
Okay.
And goes
And
from
that's part of that engineering
Yeah.
as well?
Yeah.
So part of the engineering isn't just like crunching numbers like a mathematician. It's also getting in the car, seeing how it reacts to those
Exactly.
changes without putting the primary driver in there to do it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So is that different from being a test driver for the team, or is that they're kind of
In
hand
between,
hand?
they're very,
Okay.
very hand in hand. I mean,
Okay.
test driver in IndyCar doesn't exist. Like, for
Right.
example, Formula One has a team of test drivers that are testing nonstop first on the simulator. There's a huge high-end simulators that they never
Okay.
leave the simulator, trying different
Right.
combinations of shocks and ride heights and all these
Right,
like different
right.
combinations. Then there's on-track test drivers that are constantly going to similar tracks that they're going to be racing throughout
Right.
the season and just testing whatever they actually worked
Did
out
on
of the
the
simulator.
Okay.
And then all in all, that makes it to the main team.
Right.
And then there's a test driver, which probably like the first test of the weekend, of the race weekend, is not going to be the main driver.
Right.
Usually the
case
the
the
reserve
shock-
drivers
in
call the
case-
reserve.
The
test
reserve
drive.
driver, in case the shock goes out and
Exactly.
hit the wall. It's like, oh.
So there's different levels of test driving, but then that's Formula One.
That's F1,
IndyCar
right?
doesn't have it
Okay.
for many reasons. One,
money.
money.
Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah,
that's a
I
big
mean,
one, yeah.
we're looking at $100 million a year for a season, and this is a cheap team in Formula
Right.
One versus, like 5 to 10 million in
Oh, really?
in
5 to
IndyCar,
10 million?
Yeah.
You can do an IndyCar for I
Yeah.
thought we were in like
But-
20, 30 million, honestly.
There's big teams that spend that kind of money,
Right.
but like
Right. Clark? No?
anybody.
Clark's
Anybody?
you're not signing up? You're not,
No,
not,
no.
not fielding a team?
I
The LDR team?
So
I did have something to share with you, though.
and then it comes down to understanding that the regulations in IndyCar are very different from
Right.
Formula One. I mean,
Sure.
they don't allow anybody to go extra testing just because they want to keep it as the big teams can test every single day. The small teams they
Oh,
can't.
so what you're saying is there's rules for the IRL and those teams because you don't want to give an advantage just because the team has money.
Exactly.
So they're going to limit the amount of testing that anyone can do so that all the teams have the same opportunity
Exactly.
at advantages.
That's right.
Right. Even though the teams with more money can do other things,
Mm-hmm.
you just there's so much information that can be gathered from a test run that what you can do is level the playing field to a degree by saying, hey, if you're only running a $5 million team versus a $20 million team, you're going to get the same number of testing opportunities by rule. Okay, that sounds good. And so, what's next for you? What's your goal? You're going to continue this stuff. You've got a master plan, or you just like let the universe open up and bring it to you?
I'm going with the flow right now.
Nice.
I'm really putting a lot of effort on my entrepreneurship with
Cool.
the e-commerce and of course my engineering and driver management side. But like that, the third area is just keep myself active on a car, just see how can we get back on maybe not full season,
Right.
but I love specific events. I love events that they do very well with
Okay.
my company or very well with my demographic or very
Right.
well with my sponsors.
Okay.
And see where it goes. So I'm just like taking it as it comes.
Good luck with that. That's cool.
Thank you.
And you were just saying before you came up here, you were downtown. You had to get a haircut.
You have to, man. You have to. Yeah.
Gotta get a
Just my
haircut?
hair is my
It's your
thing.
hair,
Yeah.
huh? Your hair's the thing.
Yeah.
Huh?
Jason.
Thanks for
Jason's my guy, yeah.
Thanks for cutting the hair to come on because we do the video.
Have
So
to,
appreciate that.
Like I
right?
need to. Like,
Speaking of that, I was just wondering if you could explain this thing to me.
Oh, yeah. Were you in a
So,
boy band?
what's going on? I just for those who are
Dude.
listening, I threw up a picture of Sebastian there. How old are you there? Like 12?
I am,
With long hair and
I think I am 12, 13. Yeah.
you
Probably.
look like you're in some sort of
Boy
Man,
band. Yeah.
that was
some
bad.
Colombian boy band.
That was the Disney
There.
Disney Channel
That's
days.
epic.
There you go. So
What a beautiful child.
Yeah.
And you literally your hair is your signature thing, and now we
It's
got
always
this
been.
long-haired kid here, right?
Yeah, that was like my good boy days, and I had like huge mohawk.
You had a huge mohawk
I had
for a while?
Huge mohawk for
Nice,
a
for a
while.
little
That was
while.
my clean days, and I had piercings and
You had
all these
pier-
things.
really?
I had a lot of piercings.
Yeah, you probably
during
don't-
racing.
You probably don't want to do that though, right? With some sort of accident where
You don't know. They actually right now it's because
just tear
somebody
your
like
face open or
Lewis
something.
Hamilton
Yeah.
has a lot of piercings, and the FIA is mandating that drivers cannot have.
But I
like
could only
jewelry.
imagine.
I agree with that. I mean, like
Yeah.
that's dangerous.
Yeah, just I mean,
Yeah.
you get a nose ring and you I don't know, you get some whiplash and it catches your helmet a little bit and you
Yeah.
tear your nose
Yeah,
open. I don't think
yeah.
no good.
Hold your balaclava. Like I remember, I had a eyebrow piercing, and it will just catch into my balaclava, and it will be just like always like it will be nasty and bleeding all over the place. So
That's cool. You were just a rebel though, right?
I
You were
was. I had
like,
to.
I'm gonna listen to
Yeah.
angry music and pierce
Yeah,
my
I was
face.
punk.
Yeah, you were
I was a
punk.
punk listening to punk.
Yeah.
Listen to punk. I gotcha. Me too. I was too. My
Here's the
punk was a
thing.
lot older than your punk
Yeah,
was.
probably.
Yeah, that's sort. But at least you were racing cars and
I
being
loved it.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
I'm
great.
blessed.
That's awesome. Well, this has been great. It's good to get to meet you.
been
Good to
fun.
talk with you. This is a cool story, and
Yeah.
thank God your legs and back work still.
Yeah,
There's still
semi work. I
opportunity.
mean, define work.
Well,
Yeah,
you
we're
walked
still-
in
I'm
here. I
walking-
wouldn't have known.
I
wouldn't
walked
have known.
here. That's
he did.
true.
He did walk
I
in
did.
here.
I mean, it's a
know.
miracle, but yeah.
Miracle. So that's
Here we
pretty
are.
good.
Do you have a set of the X-rays of your ankles?
We don't
Oh,
want to see
I
that.
do, man.
Do you really?
They're nasty.
Oh,
No,
that's
Damn.
hey,
that's not-
you gotta have those memories,
gotta
See,
have
we
those
gotta have those
memories. I'm like,
memories.
hey, I'm gonna hang
Yeah.
out with an X-ray of my backwards ankles.
No, I've had a
So
few.
they like rolled in. It's
Yeah.
I don't know. We're still talking about that.
Yeah, I still have like that
I'm
sound
getting
of them
crazy.
just getting
Do
it
you
back
really?
together.
Do you hear the sound
yeah,
of that?
Like that. That's something that still like bothers me. That like nasty kind of like.
It's gonna
clench
now
in the
bother
back.
me.
Oh, I'm
Thanks.
glad. I'm glad I'm sharing.
Okay,
this,
you're
sharing
this,
that?
I
Thanks.
want you
Well,
guys
by the
to
way,
share
the
this.
score is 1 bad joke for Byron and 1 good joke.
Okay,
So
thanks.
it's a-
1-1.
Thanks, 1-1. Thanks, Clark.
So you know.
I don't know if we
Awesome.
needed that, but no, this has been great. It's really enlightening, I think, because there's so much that you're being able to do in the racing from go-karts all the way through the rally
yeah.
cars, and
Yeah.
you've won championships, and you're still racing Indy cars, and
It's
You got a
fun.
Rolex watch.
you got a Rolex watch and everything. So,
You know what?
which
I-
we didn't see.
I
Thanks for bringing that up.
should have brought it. Yeah,
that's
now I
cool.
think about it. But you know what? It's an important month. So representing
it is.
Tag
Yeah.
Heuer.
Tag
Yes.
Heuer for Indy 500.
For Indy
That's cool.
500, gotta keep it.
Well, cool. Well, thank you very much. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming in.
No,
Appreciate
thanks.
the time.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate
right.
it. Thanks for the
Clark,
invite.
anything else?
Clark, thank you,
No.
man.
All right. Thank you, folks. And we'll see you guys next week. Thanks. Bye.